Hi there, this is Sean, and I'm here today to show you how to dunk your Hamama quilt in the tray. It's a fairly simple process, but I just like to do these videos, trying to kind of improve them over time and kind of show you the different ways that you can dunk things. But there's really one standard way to dunk things. First, you're going to have to take the Hamama quilt out of the bag or envelope, depending on how new your Hamama product is. They shifted away from the plastic envelopes a while back, but I still have some old stock. So, as you can see, we have here a quilt and a information card. You should keep the information card and write down the date and time if you feel like it, morning or afternoon or whatever, that you soaked your quilt, because everything that we talk about in the Hamama Greens group is relative to the date that you soak it. So, first thing you do, let me just tell you real quick about the different parts of the quilt. The bottom is the dark brown coconut coir here. The top consists of 3 layers. That's a fabric-like layer, seeds, and paper. If you notice that the seeds are getting bunched up to one side, like you can see here, the seeds are getting bunched into one side of the little section here, leaving a lot of air. You can just kind of tap the seeds around to make sure they're as equally distributed as possible. These quilts are overseeded, so there's lots and lots of seeds in there. Normally when you would plant these in the garden, you would plant them inches apart, and these are planted no inches apart, very, very close to each other. So you definitely want to get as much surface area as you can in each of those pockets. You want to make sure they are as equally distributed as possible. Just give it a little tap, no problem. As you can see and listen, this is very dry, which is how it should be fresh out of the envelope. And next thing we do is we fill the tray to the fill line. We've actually measured this many times before. It is 26 fluid ounces of water. I like filtered water, so I think filtered water tends to give a better product in the end and probably safer for you to eat as well. So there's 26 ounces, give or take, and as you can see, it's right up to the fill line. Now, I learned a new technique, so I think I've done probably 3 or 4 dunking videos or soaking videos. So let's try a new technique today and see how well it works. First, I learned this from Vicky in the Hamama Friends group. Kind of bend it in half here, and you'll see the water actually kind of soaks up, and then you just push down from the sides, and you can actually see the water kind of getting in there. Now, it did not do the fantastic soak that I expected it to do, as I saw in the videos, but I did see the water kind of get into the quilt. So, the most important part about soaking your Hamama quilt is to make sure that each of these sections goes from the light tan to dark brown. If you can see in each of these sections that I'm touching here, not the space in between sections, but the sections themselves where the seeds are, they should go from a light tan to a dark brown. And that's a good indicator that each of the sections has enough water to kind of wake up all the seeds in that section. Now, I still like to walk my fingers around to make sure that each of those sections is well saturated with water. Now, in a perfect world, the coconut coir bottom will push up the top part so that it is not sitting or soaking in the water. After this initial good solid soak of the seeds, this top should never be soaking directly in the bottom of the water anymore. It should be wicking water from the top through the coconut coir and the tray below. So it should come from the tray through the dark brown coconut coir, through the light fabric, and then the seeds should get all of the water they need through that, and air too. Seeds will drown if you submerge them in water for too long, so This is the last time that the seeds should really be submersed in water. Over the course of the next day or two, the water, as this rises up a little bit, the water should drain down from the top into the bottom so that the seeds are moist, and each of these sections is a little microclimate, kind of like a little greenhouse, a little separate section. This paper is important to keep on as long as you can, up until the peel cover in day here. This is the Zesty mix seed quilt, and the peel cover in is 5 to 6 days. So today is day 1, and then tomorrow will be day 2, and then of course you count forward to day 5 or 6. You will see even ballooning across the top of the paper where the seeds are pushing up the paper. Basically, the seeds, when they get wet, after a couple days, they will send down roots, piercing the light fabric below and growing into the coconut coir and, of course, the bottom of the tray. And after they've sent down the roots, they'll send up shoots. The sending up of the shoots is actually what causes the ballooning of the paper. When you get a nice even ballooning across the paper, that's when you peel. And when people ask, when should I peel? Should I peel? Just look at the peel cover, and generally this is a fairly accurate peel time. If you're on day 3 or 4 and this thing is just gangbusters, ballooning, pushing all the way across evenly, it might be time to peel. But generally, the peel cover in is fairly accurate here on the card, so kind of follow that. And then when do you harvest? 10 days after you, well, I should say, whatever the grow time shows here. In this case, it's 10 days. So today being day 1, next day, tomorrow being day 2, just count forward to day 10, and that's a good safe number for when you should harvest. Hopefully that gave you a good understanding of how to get a good solid soak. And I can see here, now that we've been talking, by kind of pushing my finger into each of these sections, that they are fairly well waterlogged. They have a lot of water in them, and I will check them probably about 8 hours or so later on today to make sure that they go from having a lot of water in there to being fairly well drained. Drainage is just as important as getting enough water in that first thing. So another thing, if you see, like right here, I'm not sure if you can see it, but this is kind of the corners peel covered, kind of like dipping down, curling down in. Just kind of pull these corners and edges back if they tend to get into the water. This corner over here was actually dipping directly into the water. So it would absolutely have caused an overwatering situation. And when people say, well, I don't understand, why is it that half of the seed quilt worked great and the other half didn't? You can see a little circle here where it looks great over here and terrible over here. If you get standing water sitting in these pockets that doesn't drain down, that will drown your seeds. And the last thing that you want to do is drown these seeds. You want them to get wet to wake them up, and then let them drain into the bottom, and that will allow them to germinate properly in this case 5 to 6 days. So any questions, please leave them here either in the YouTube video or over in the Hamama Friends group on Facebook. I like to make these videos both interesting and informative, but also kind of every time I make a new one, I try to improve it a little more. So looks like we're almost up on 9-10 minutes here, so I'm going to cut this short. But hopefully this has been helpful, and this is the kind of thing that I want to kind of show people. It's really easy to dunk, but it's also, you've got to take a couple minutes just to kind of look at to make sure that all of the sections are wet, but also after a few hours, and especially the next day, to make sure that each of the sections has drained properly. Otherwise, you will kill your seeds, and then after 4 or 5 days, you're going to be like, why am I not getting any growth? And the answer is going to be because you overwatered. So overwatering is super simple to fix. Just lower the water level in the tray so that it's in the middle of the dark brown coconut coir, and that'll fix most of your overwatering issues. Underwatering, obviously, just make sure you get it watered properly in the first place, which is why I made this video. Again, it's Sean with the Hamama Friends group. Not an admin over there or anything. I'm just a guy who likes to grow Hamama greens. Thanks. Hi, it's Sean again. I just wanted to put my quilt up on stilts, which is something I do for my time-lapse videos, to kind of show you where the water level should be. Now, again, these are risen by about 20 millimeters, so I just want you to be able to see the side here. When I say that I want the water levels to be at the middle of the dark brown coconut coir, I mean that I want them right around here, and I'm just adding about twice as much water as I normally would, just so that I can show you. Now you'll notice, I'm not sure if you can actually see this in the video, but I have added enough water, and this is a level bed, that it is right around the middle of the coconut coir. And of course I had to add that water because I put those up on stilts, so 20 millimeters of vertical height makes for about 26 or more ounces of water that I have to add to that. So but hopefully you can kind of see. I'm trying to put some light into that little section there for you so you can see. Um, it's basically right around halfway up the coconut coir. It doesn't technically have to be halfway up. It just has to be touching all the way across the bottom so that that coconut coir can wick the water up into the top section as needed. But I like the middle of the coconut coir because it's not too low and not too high. If you put it at the bottom of the coconut coir and the quilt is uneven or unlevel, you might have one section that's not touching at all on one side and one section that's a little bit high on the other. If you fill the water up so that it's at the top of the coconut coir and things are unlevel and you can't quite see, there's a chance that the water might actually be um, up above the coconut coir and actually causing the top to be sitting in the water. So that's why, for a safety margin, I like to be right in the middle to bottom of the coconut coir, although middle is probably your safest bet. So hopefully you can see this in the video. I know you're can't quite tell. I'm actually probably going to add just a little bit more to get it right into the middle there. Hopefully you can kind of see that. Oh, there you go. Middle of the coconut coir. You can actually see the little reflection there in the video. You'll notice how the water is right in the middle of the coconut coir. I am not going up beyond the middle because that can cause problems with drainage and stuff. So again, hopefully this addition to the end of the video is helpful. Again, leave any comments, questions, concerns, or suggestions in the comments below or over on Hamama Friends group on Facebook. Thank you.